We're live. We're ready. We're ready to do this, Christine.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 36 of the Get Reelisms podcast. I am Adam Chase Rennie.
And I am Christine Chen.
Hold your applause. Hold your applause.
Hold the applause because we got a very, very special guest. Christine, would you love to do the honors?
Sure. To tell you the truth, I don't know this dude.
Yeah, he kind of honestly showed up out of nowhere, and I just let him in.
We did not just spend a long 3-4 days.
But Brad, let me tell you something. Your username game is on point. Mr. Spanky Pants is the best user, and also your email is I won't say it because we're on the internet, but it is like you're killing it in the email username game. It is
really
amazing.
Excited about your email. He goes, "Is that really Brad's email?"
I'm like, that can't be his. Like, I'm like, I want an email like that. Like, how can I get an email that is like Adam at Adamtonville, mayor of Adamville.com? You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted that so bad, and you kind of blew the doors wide open for me, Brad. So
I mean, you can reserve any domain name, you know. Like,
I know, and me being the internet kid from 1994 didn't put two and two together for some fucking reason. You know what I mean? So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, Brad is here with us.
Hey,
I don't know your last name, Brad, but
Bradley.
Wait, really?
Awesome. Brad Bradley, guy with two last names. Just kidding.
I was going to say, I'm like, dude, that's amazing. That's like, no, that's my like Christian name.
Yay. So talk about yourself, Brad.
Okay. So I mostly grew up in French, Louisiana. My family's Cajun. I've always loved music, but I started recording people in high school. Didn't even start playing music myself until I was 19, when I could afford to fix a bass that was broken that my friend gave me. But I've just always loved music. I got a little bit
lessons, right?
What?
I remember you saying you never took lessons.
No, I never had. You know, it's in some people, and like you spend so much time working with it and working with your instruments, and just kind of like it doesn't feel like work, especially when you're I don't know. It didn't feel like work for me. It just felt like fun, and so I just wanted to always be playing music, and it felt like my time was just music time, and everything else that got in the way of music time.
Yeah, I feel you.
So I wish it was still like that, but it's.
I know.
You really got to make time for your craft nowadays. You got to find the time.
Life.
But I do think there is major similarities with music and, you know, the industry that we work in, which is the film industry. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's so many similarities just in terms of production and the time it takes for the creative process, you know, before everything else. It's just you sitting in a room thinking. You know?
That's what I learned the most about, was all the pre-production. And I'm like, Christine was taking on the brunt of it. But like, it, you know, whenever she could dole out tasks to me, it was a lot. There was a lot of juggling, a lot of clerical, logistical type of stuff, a lot of troubleshooting and altering of plans, and, you know, just thinking on the fly, thinking on your feet.
And was it your first project, this music video? Oh, go ahead.
Wait, to give our listeners some context, what Brad's talking about is that this past weekend, Brad and I made his music video for his song Body Snatcher, and it's been when did we start? I mean, like, it's been like 2 months of here and there pre-production, right? Because we were going to try to shoot it in December, but then I fucked it up and took a job in Virginia.
No, it's okay. I mean,
wasn't I right though? Like, if we tried to do it then it would have been so difficult. Like nothing would have been planned. I was freaking out already it being so cold, but you're like, it's totally fine. I was like, no, it's not.
No. Well, like that was, you know, I, as a music producer, I'm so used to being on the other side of this. I'm so used to being the one to be like, that is unrealistic, or like, it'll be fine because we can do this. But like, I just felt so clueless this time, and just really kind of leaned on Christine to guide me through and help me figure things out. It was a blast. It was a blast. It took a lot of work.
Yeah.
And like, I'm so impressed. Like, I saw how Christine and I met was kind of interesting.
Same here.
Yeah. I have a good friend. How did y'all meet?
Oh, it was just like it was such a quick 5-minute conversation that I thought was going to be like a 30-minute interview. And it was just me meeting my mentor at the time.
I'm his mentor.
Yeah. And when I met her, she like immediately was just like, hey, so I have a project and it's coming up in like 2 weeks. You want to do it? And I'm like, well, and she was like, no, it's okay. You'll just be a PA. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I like got into the on the film set, and yeah, it just flew from there. So, you know, it's just like, it's those Christine works in very short bursts. And when you get her in those short bursts, you then have to force yourself to make like really like crazy decisions, like in the moment, you know? And I'm not saying like the decision was crazy to be a PA, like on a on a 25-day feature. And I never been on a film set ever prior to that, except for like shooting stuff with my sister in the woods or like with my friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But nothing in terms of a professional production. And Christine is the epitome of a professional ass production.
You know what's funny is my recollection of the experience was completely different. It was pretty perfectly normal pace, and I just asked you to be on my set. But
it was intense.
I am convinced that time goes like, for everybody it goes really fast, but for me, people like, if it goes fast for people, it's like a lot slower for me. Like, so I can do a lot more within a span of 10 minutes than most people can.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to break you down like that. You're just you have the energy like me, where I'm just like I get excited for shit. I'm like a golden retriever boy, and I just yeah, and I just like once something clicks in my brain and my endorphins just light up, I'm like, oh yeah, let's do it, everything, you know. And Christine was excited, and I was excited too. So I just never, I was expecting somebody who was going to be like, you know, this kid, he's, you know, he doesn't know his ass from the ground. It is what it is. Like he's just going to be a bumbling idiot. You know, don't mind him. It is what it is. No, but Christine welcomed me with open arms and stuff.
I threw you in the deep end. That's how I usually work. I throw people in the deep end.
That, but also
you got this, and I go.
Well, right, but that's the thing.
No, you got it. Bye.
But that's what I respected the most, was that she sort of did that. She was just like, yeah, I know you can do it, so go ahead. And I'm like, okay, you know. And I of course I made mistakes along the way, and of course she pointed them out to me. But and we don't have to get into all that because it's boring. But yeah, you know, it's I will forever work for Christine, even for free, even today. I'm serious. Like just for the sheer fact of how awesome Christine is, I'm willing to because she's not only a great friend, but she also is like one of those teachers and mentors that, like, even though she works on a crazy fucking pace, you learn so much from it. You learn so much from pre-production to production, and how everything is in between that time, you know.
Oh,
and
shucks.
she's great. No, she's great. And I do give you the credit.
I didn't bring you on here, Brad, so for you to just talk talk about.
No, but that's it. But no, the next 30 minutes of this podcast, I'm going to rip you apart. So don't worry about it.
So, Brad, how we met because there was a film, Vouet. Remember Vouet, Adam?
I do. Yeah,
Yes.
with friend of the podcast.
Yes. And
Yes.
we were watching Vouet, and Brad saw it and was like, then I didn't realize that it's made such a big impact on him, and he asked me to do his music video. What was it about Vouet that you loved?
I loved that you had so little to work with in amount of like the amount of time that you had, the resources. It was just you and a camera and Thomas,
100%.
the one actor. And like
Thomas, that's his name.
Like it was so understated and mature and dark. And I wanted to shoot a music video for this song, but it had a strong potential to be campy. And like it's the kind of project where if you can't nail it, like why do it? You know,
Right.
like if you can't nail it, like if you can't nail the aesthetic, like everyone can tell, and it's just gonna be shitty. It's just gonna look
A
like
waste of
shit.
time. Yeah.
And so like watching what Christine did with just the amount of time, and like the shots were so cool. I loved the cinematography. There's this one shot that I really liked of it was just gas cans rattling around in the back in like a truck bed or something like that.
Yeah.
And like I was like, man, like I'm not a visual artist, and so I can appreciate visual art, but like I can't create visual art. And so like just certain scenes like that struck me. Her the way she there was one part where she kind of like had a visual effect on the iris of the actor to kind of emphasize a supernatural feel. And like I thought even that was very tasteful. They like emoted the supernatural without being cheesy or whatever. And so I've participated as a film composer in film competitions and things like that. And you know, so I've done body double stuff. I've done some background acting. So I've looked through the window into that world a little bit. But this was a whole new experience, and just seeing that little film, I knew she was the right one. I knew she was the right pick. And anytime that there was like a disagreement where I had my mind set on something and Christine would like throw me some other suggestion, I would like, we're all artists, we're all sensitive, you know, we're all visionaries in our own right. And so like anytime she'd be like, well, what about this? My first reaction, like most artists, was like, no, you know, like not my vision, you know. But then like if I remember there was this one twist in the story that she suggested that I'd considered but didn't really follow through with. And I was talking to my best friend and I was like, I don't know. And he said, Brad, you chose her for a reason. Trust her. I was like, oh shit. And from then on, like anytime I was like, I don't know about that, I just kind of went with it, and Christine was always right. Like it was always better her way, you know, than what I thought. And so
No, it was a collaboration still. Like it was.
Oh, absolutely.
I've always wanted it to be a dialogue. I feel like with any vision, the best stuff is when there is a dialogue.
Absolutely.
Right? Like I purposely pick people on my team who will not just say yes. Like, you know, Camille, who was on Stelly, that was on this music video. If it looks stupid, they'll tell me.
That's a good friend though. Like that's a true friend. Like I would rather someone tell me that my song is cheesy before I release it.
Exactly.
You know, like tell me I'm doing something wrong before I show a bunch of other people. You know what I mean? Like I don't want this to represent me if it's not, you know, my best effort or, you know, framing my artistic vision in the best way.
So honesty is everything to you, Brad.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's hard to come by with, I'm sorry, Christine, I didn't mean to trample on you,
No,
but
no,
that's hard to come by for people to compromise their, you know, create, because like you were saying in the beginning, it's like, well, no, I don't want to change what I already have in my head. Like, what the fuck are you
Right.
talking about? And then you get to the point of practicality where Christine is just soars and just skyrockets to it.
Mhm.
And when you have someone just grounded in reality and make it practical, make it real, like make it actually come to life, but just in a way that makes a little more sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I always approach any project just like, hey, this is a dialogue. It's I'm very aware. I will have a vision, but it doesn't mean like I can't deviate from that or that I'm not open to other people's ideas, because I feel like it's the collective good that makes something better. And I mean, like the way you suggested, hey, could we do one where I'm not seeing it, everybody goes crazy? I love that. Like that was a cool addition that I didn't can take zero credit for, you know, etc. Or it's Stella being like, hey, let's do this shot from here, and I'm like, that's cool, let's do that, you know. So, but I guess since nobody knows, tell the audience what this music video aesthetic is.
Okay. This was also one of the times where I realized that Christine was the right choice for this project, is because like in the song itself is about a sexual encounter that kind of implicitly is also a murder. Like there's just kind of like a lot of um, sexually violent imagery in the song. It's not very explicit, but like it just kind of hints at kind of a murder. Excuse me. And so for this video, I wanted to do something that was the murder. You know, like I wanted I wanted a video that had these raw, weird, kind of visceral, sexual, violent energy, but was still dark. And like I wanted to make something dark and artsy, you know. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm rambling a little bit.
No, you're not. You're not. I mean, some of best Kubrick's work is polarizing imagery of sexualizing and violence. You know, just taking Clockwork Orange for an example.
Yeah.
That's just the textbook definition of polarization of opposites and stuff. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's great. So this being your first project you directed?
Yeah, this is like I've started shooting music videos before, but they've never really been finished.
I see.
And,
okay.
And I wasn't really as involved with the vision as I have been with this one, because this is my first solo project as a musician. So like
that's great.
As a musician, like I'm used to always collaborating, always having like a writing partner to either bounce ideas off of or to help you refine your ideas. Because I find that refinement is the most important process for music, I guess, in particular, because it like sometimes when you write a song, it all comes out at once. But especially with a large band with people who don't share the exact same vision, like there's some give and take, and it takes a while to really refine and fully finish a full song. And so like
details. It's always about the details.
And so like you sharpen each other, you know, artists, like you were saying about having good people on your team to tell you when you're messing up or when you could be doing something better. but yeah. So working as a solo project this time, I haven't had that. You know, I haven't had someone to be able to tell me like, oh, that lyric is cheesy, or like, I don't like how this word works here. Or, you know, this isn't loud enough in the mix, or that there's too much of that, or you know. And so it's felt very different. Felt very much kind of like floating around by myself and trying to gauge what's going on with no real objective barometer of, you know, what how my art really sounds to someone else. But working with Christine, it was nice to collaborate again, because right away she shared the same kind of imagery. She was getting, both of us were getting like Victorian era style, lots of red. Adam, do you see color at all when you listen to music? Do you ever have like lights?
So not only I see color, I see the story just projected.
Yes, I do too.
I see the story projected, and that goes the same thing for comic books and video games.
I thought I was like, a weirdo. Okay, good.
When I listen to a music album, like I was listening to Metallica this morning, and I forgot how amazing Kill 'Em All is.
Yeah.
And I listening from beginning to end, like, is crazy the fact that it hasn't been used in like a crazy Tarantino-esque like shoot 'em up. Yeah. And that's basically Kill 'Em All. Like that entire album from beginning to end is just destruction and violence, and let's just fucking light the world on fire. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I have colors for sure, and more with music for sure.
Yeah, I see like I will sit and listen. I'll be like, this is a driving song. Like I literally see me sitting in this type of vehicle, you know, going down the highway or something, or like I will see specific. That's why I think we also connected, because you had other song that you played or Brandy played, and immediately I was like, this is like, we are here and it's a James Bond thing, and then we're walking on the dance floor, and I was being weird,
it sounded so I would love to do that video. It was hard to choose between the two, because like you guys were riffing on that song right away, and like
I really connected to that one too. So yeah, in the future, that was the next one.
Yeah, I'm so down for that. I'm so down.
That one I like really gravitated. Like I could see it immediately, but
yeah.
So we had the same. It was weird how similar our visuals were. I was like, oh really? That's what I thought. I thought I was being a weirdo wanting it to have BDSM in it. Yeah.
No, I like that was it. You know, like every step of the way, I just felt more and more affirmed that this was the right choice for this film, for this video.
Especially when you guys collaborate and share that, like you guys just mesh together the creative similarities like together, you know, and realize that too. That must be the best part too. It's just like, wait, you like this shit? I like this shit. Fuck. All right.
It was a lot of that. You like this? I like this. Yes.
It's like, wow, you're weird. Yeah, I am weird. You're weird too. Yeah, I know.
I mean, that takes really, because when I presented this to another, I hired a second camera person. The first one initially had, and I know Brad had a similar experience where he mentioned it to somebody and they were like, fuck no.
Yeah.
What is that? I don't believe in that at all.
Yeah. Like, a bunch of times.
That. So so you have to have that similar like vibe to make it work. And it was really cool that it was immediate that Brad and I knew we were on the same wavelength in terms of like how we want it to look and feel and everything. But like, I mean, I literally presented this to somebody else and they're like, nope.
No way. Yeah.
They're like, that's too risque and all this stuff. And I was like, really? I think it's just so cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because it is cool.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is rad. I don't care. Yeah. That's if I can hear that in the music and I see that in the imagery with that music, I mean, if it works, it works, you know? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It took a lot of arm wrestling to get some people to even be in other scenes, like the non-BDSM scenes, because they knew that some BDSM shit was happening.
Oh, I see.
In the other scenes, and so
but
like
the violent scenes, they were just like whatever, fuck it,
yeah, pretty
Really?
much.
that's
murder,
that's always
that's
weird.
fine.
That's always weird to
Spanking,
me. That's
pervert.
always yeah. I'm like, doesn't it bother you that like there's gonna be this guy chasing down the street with a knife, just like locking eyes, just like running straight toward like you would think something like that would be just as bad, if not worse, than I don't know, a sexual encounter. I guess like it's up to the actor because I'm not an actor, so I guess I get their side, but also there's a give or take here.
Yeah, everybody has their beliefs and stuff, and this certainly wasn't one that was like a general temple population would like understand. So I feel like the imagery will appeal to anybody, but they just have to be open to it. Yeah.
So Brad, when you've been with music for a really long time in your life, does it like when you were growing up, did music sort of just, was it introduced into your life, or was it just always part of a thing and that was like your memory of what you always remember is just music?
I mean, like,
was there a specific band? Like, was there a genre of music that you're introduced to and you're like, wait, this is music? This is something everybody listens to? I love this,
I think Cajun music probably has had the most of, my family's Cajun.
Right.
And so like,
there's so many great
really?
Cajun bands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's so many great Cajun bands. You kidding me? Oh my God.
When you dance to Cajun music, you go down on the 2 and the 4. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And so
right.
like,
yeah.
I bob my head backwards. Everyone's like, boom, da, cha, cha. And I'm like, dum, da, cha, da. Like my head just goes
syncopated beat. You're not
yes.
I bob my head backwards because I'm so used to that you go down on the 2 and the 4. But I think Cajun music. My grandfather's Cuban, but like I never really listened to a lot of Cuban music with him. But Cajun music's probably kind of bled into me.
There's similarities with Cuban music too. There's lots of.
I feel like Body Snatcher has some Cuban feel to it, especially that intro.
Yeah, and that reggaeton
when
beat.
When I first listened to it, I was like, "Hey," I wasn't sure because I really heard that part in it, and I was intrigued. Yeah, so that's interesting that you said Cuban music.
Yeah, it's got that big reggaeton beat, and the bass line was inspired by Mexican folk music.
Gotcha.
Because the mariachi bands, the bass instrument is called the guitarrón, which is like pretty much a huge acoustic guitar. And the way that it's strung lends itself to those big oompa bass lines, like bum, 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 bum.
Oh, so it's still 4 strings?
No, I believe the guitarrón is 6 strings.
Oh, okay, I see. But
it's
wider in acoustic, like in the body and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's like a great big acoustic guitar.
Wow. Yeah,
but
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's cool. Is it like, but the kind of oompa bass line is very popular, even in a lot of modern Mexican music. Like you'll hear it in like hip hop, and there's like this really popular Mexican band called Café Tacuba, I think. But they have it a lot. They've got kind of like this electronic vibe, and they'll still like incorporate these weird Mexican.
Sounds like Cardi B's beats. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Some of her songs, not all of them, but yeah, she does have that that influence a little bit of a little even Cuban music too. She has a lot of influence in
Absolutely.
some of that stuff. That's amazing. So your inspiration was growing up was Cajun music, and then did it sort of branch off from there?
Yeah, I became a metalhead from.
Yes.
age like 11 to 20. Heavy metal was pretty
Whoa,
much
same
all,
here.
all I
Wow.
listened to. That was it.
Well, that was such a big 90s thing.
Yeah.
I had
well,
a more tamer version of that. I was really into like, I guess you would call like garage rock or like whatever Nirvana and all that stuff was.
grunge. Yeah. Okay.
Grunge, yeah, grunge rock. So that was what I was into. I'm still very much a 90s child.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
were.
So metal, you were what was the band that you first listened to that melted your brain?
Oh man. So I'm really dating myself, but
Please.
I was a new metal fan. So like
Yes.
Slipknot's first 3 records, System of a Down.
Iowa is one of my top 5 metal albums.
Brutal.
It's brutal.
What a good record.
Such an amazing record. Yeah.
I loved Korn, Pantera, Slayer. Like, go. Yeah.
Go. Yeah. I every time I think of Korn, I went to a Korn show once, and that's all I did in the entire show. And yeah, I wasn't even a fan until that show. But anyways, that's another story.
I loved Marilyn Manson too. It was
yeah.
Manson had great videos, and so like
he did. Yeah.
So
what would you classify 9 Inch Nails? I was a huge fan of 9 Inch Nails.
What's that one time?
What would you classify 9 Inch Nails?
Yeah, we were talking. Hang on one second.
9 Inch Nails, I think, Christine, is more like on the
It's not metal, right?
It's rock. So 9 Inch Nails to me sounds like Queens of the Stone Age a little bit.
I was really big because I was really big into 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah.
I like 9 Inch Nails too.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. Yeah. But I also I grew up with like an intertwine of so much music. Was it the same thing for you? Like after when you were 20 years old, did your music just sort of like
from then on it just exploded. I love jazz. I started playing a lot of different kinds of music.
Jazz.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a crazy 180 from metal. That's amazing. A jazz set drums is like a third of the drum kit in metal. It's crazy.
Well, yes and no. Like if you listen to heavy metal without distortion, it sounds very jazzy. Because
that's true. Like Black Sabbath. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the dissonant chords used in metal and jazz. And like the virtuoso kind of guitar playing in both metal and jazz, like there are more similarities than you might think at first. But like I played gypsy jazz fusion for several years, played a lot of experimental music, progressive rock, bunch of metal bands.
Oh yeah.
But I played in this one metal band out in LA. That was like old school metal. It's like the horsemen and the glory.
Oh no way! Like Dio? Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Fuck yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
And the gods rain upon me. Yeah. I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
It's like that glam rock.
This album that you're gonna put out, what are your influences for that?
I guess most of the songs, I don't know. I feel like every song kind of has its own vibe.
Yeah, that's definitely, yeah.
For 2 or 3 of them, I found a lot of influence in bossa nova. I love bossa nova music. And so I find that my voice kind of lends itself to a soft bossa nova style crooning. But I love Latin music and Latin sounds and Latin percussion and Latin beats and instruments. And so I just the closest I could say is like surf and Latin influenced indie pop, I guess.
No, that's rad. That is.
I definitely heard it in that song that Brandy that we were talking about with the dance floor. That's why I was thinking salsa and merengue and stuff like that on the dance floor.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
Talking about it, yeah. So.
Yeah, lots of Latin influence. A little bit of jazz, and like some experimentate. Like there's a neo soul song on there and a hip hop song on it, but it's like not like a regular. Like I can't nail reggaeton. So I have to do Brad reggaeton, you know? So like I'll incorporate whatever reggaeton, you know, characteristics I want to use. But I know that there's no way I can make an authentic sounding reggaeton sound, you know, like, cause I don't come from that culture. And so like, it's just, instead of just one reggaeton song, you get Brad playing reggaeton, or Brad making a hip hop beat. And so it's like not a real it's like, it doesn't sound like other hip hop. It just sounds like, cause like, I showed it to this one older producer, and he was like, he's more of a boom bap guy, and he's like, that's rock. And I'm like, everyone's rapping, my friend. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but I don't know. I always find it weird to talk about my own music, and not in a way that, because like I've known people who are like, I don't use words for my music, but it's just like
oh right, yeah.
I know people who are like, well, I sound like Mars Volta meets Animal Collective.
Oh man, yeah. You just
sound
want to blow your
nothing
brains
like
out.
either.
Yeah.
You're like, no, you just sound like grunge rock, you know, or something. Like, you don't sound like, I don't know. And so it's talking about my own music. I try not to get like too frilly or something, but
I'm trying to play Tool meets the Grateful Dead.
With films, like I know where things have been influenced from, but I if I were to classify, people have asked like, what's your style? I don't know. Like I literally have no clue. But like it's interesting because other people can pick up on it really easily, but not yourself. I've had that issue. I did have a very side story. I once watched something and I was like, wow, that's really good. And then I realized I shot it.
Damn, who is this, man?
Yeah, who is this? That looks really great. I just had no recollection that I had shot that. So, but
that's rad. That's hilarious.
Yeah, but and then it's cool when people notice, like, hey, did you shoot this? And then they'd send me a link, and I'd be like, oh yeah. They're like, yeah, I didn't even have to see who it's by, and I knew it was you. And that's cool to know that you have a style, even though you yourself consciously don't know that. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Miles Davis said that when you're starting to make art, you're gonna sound like someone else for a long time before you sound like yourself.
Yes.
And like I found that I've never sounded like anyone else. Like I feel like it's the truth that you know, we're all products of our environments and our experiences and stuff. But like I find that most of the time I weird people out with my music. People are usually
same here. Really? Nobody likes to ride in the car with me because my music choices are just horrendous. I'll listen to Wu-Tang. No, listen to me.
Your music is so visual, like from a auditory, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, like I really. There's some people where I listen to their song and I just see nothing, which sucks. I don't have that problem with yours. When I hear your music, I can immediately picture, oh, I see this and that, and you know. So I think that's why I enjoyed your music so much, was because I could easily visualize something.
Dope.
Yeah. Dope. I think it's neat to hear you say that, what your influences come from. And now I can actually like, oh, that makes sense. The Latin influence was a huge one. I could really hear that. Yeah. So. But
real Latin musicians don't think my music has Latin influences at all. They're like, no, that's not Latin. Like I can't nail any other genre other than like my best attempt.
Brad genre.
Right.
Yeah, but is it more, Brad, like more of an influence than it is a well, maybe it's like because like it inspired you to write it that way, you know, to play it that way, you know.
For sure.
Like my writing is like I'm taking examples from 30 different fucking movies. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like, so it's never going to be like, well, I want it to look like I wanted to play like a Scorsese flick. No, like that's not how I'm going to write this. I'm not a mob.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. But you find it's funny because you might have a point with that, because you might just be able to find your voice when the creativity hits. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh
Like,
yeah.
once the creativity hits and you have that idea and you run with it, that's yours. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's inspired by Slipknot or inspired by Dolly Parton. You know what I mean? Like, influences come from influences. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And those influences got other influences to have their influences.
Yeah.
You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like, it's gonna be ever evolving.
Well, that's why they say art, nothing is original anymore.
Right.
technically.
No, it's impossible. Almost.
We all steal from each other. There's a book
Absolutely.
that I
At some
love.
point.
All steal like an artist, and it's just about like we all are influenced or whether consciously or subconsciously, we're influenced by other bodies of work, whether we want to or not. You know, yeah, and so nothing is technically original. Yeah.
No, it's hard. It's hard to mimic somebody. You have to put in a lot more effort to mimic something than create something all on your own. I feel like, because to understand the world of somebody else and not yourself, and not have that identity to understand what you can think of and what you can imagine, what you can inspire and create, you're sort of just disrespecting yourself, because you're
Yeah.
just like, well, I don't know. Slipknot did it best,
Right.
or whatever. It's
The
just
best
like
there
they
ever
just,
will be.
yeah, they just like drank all day and they just like thrashed all night playing shows and stuff like that. And fuck it, that's how I'm gonna operate. And sometimes that works. Sometimes it does work, but
Yeah.
a lot of times you find your own voice and you sort of stick with that.
I think what you nailed is that it's all about context, right? So
Right.
how we are influenced by other artists was within our context at that time, and what they're doing and how they created their art was influenced at the time they made it in their context. So without that context, that's the part that makes it uniquely your voice, right?
Right.
So like at this moment, I broke up with somebody, therefore I listened to the song and it really influenced me, blah, blah, blah. Well, that person who made that song, what was their context in that point when they made it, right? So that's what makes it uniquely a song, and that's why you can never really recreate why it's what you're saying, why it's so hard to actually mimic and completely recreate someone's art, because you have a completely different context that you are unaware of. You're just maybe translating it by how you interpret, how you hear their music, or how you see the visuals and stuff like that, but you can never get that context, the true context, the emotional context, at least.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but how do you? What is your writing process exactly? I'm interested to see how different or similar it is to the script writing process.
Like I tend to write songs differently every time. My writing process is usually pretty messy, and there's really just like a whole bunch of stuff coming out, and whatever I can catch, I can just hold on to, if that makes sense.
It makes 100% sense. I do the same thing.
Body Snatcher was written for a songwriting competition, though.
Okay.
And so was that futuristic hip hop rap song that I was just talking about. Same competition.
What were the guidelines of the competition? Were there like certain rules?
Yeah. So they gave there's this producer. His name is Ski Beats, and he's worked with Jay-Z and Currency and a bunch of other rappers. And he was putting on this competition where he made a sample pack of like drum sounds and percussion sounds and like synth sounds and stuff. And so you had to make a song using the sounds that he gave you. And so like that's partially why the Body Snatcher really mostly is just drums and bass. Like I just took one of the bass notes that he had in his sample pack and mapped it out to a keyboard, and like played that and hammered out some percussion and stuff on the keyboard. So Body Snatcher was actually written fairly quickly in a day or two.
What about the lyrics though?
Yeah, the lyrics, I just sat down and hashed them out. Normally I'll write about matters of heart, you know, if I'm falling in love or breaking up. Usually those are the heaviest writing times for me. And so like writing the lyrics for this one, I had to kind of think of something really quickly. And so I kind of came up with this story of, you know, like I wanted words that matched the sound, like just the vibe of the sound. And like it had such a dark, just weird, ominous kind of vibe to the music that I wanted something that kind of had the same dark visuals, but was also fun to say. You know, it was also like, because some of the lyrics don't make a ton of sense, but really it was just like I had rewritten those lyrics a couple times and just cherry picked the coolest sounding parts that just felt good to say. And so like I don't know, it's a weird hodgepodge of just putting it all together.
Do you like hip hop and rap?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like hip hop does sort of bleed like that as well. Sort of like having an amalgamation of different things and beats and samples. Like I was listening to Gangstar a couple days ago, and I forgot how amazing DJ Premier is, who is half of Gangstar, and how he produces his beats is exactly how you described it. He was just like, I just listen to movies, and he'll put on a record, he'll put on like a, you know, or even a comedy record. Like he's taken like someone breathing into a microphone and breathing out, like from a comedy record, you know, like a Richard Pryor comedy record, and he just looped that with the sample with a Miles Davis, you know, solo.
That's wild.
And DJ Premier just sort of like kind of sews it all together, but it's so fucking random. You're doing one thing, like if moments were switched, like if he wasn't listening to Miles Davis, he was listening to Jimi Hendrix or something like that, shit just would have been completely different.
Oh yeah.
You know? And also when you're writing it too, like when you know, as most rappers in the game say, spitting bars, you're writing to the beat of that sample. You're kind of writing. You don't want to write like something that's depressing on like a beat that's jolly, you know? Something that's like a happy song. Even though Tyler the Creator does that all the fucking time, it's sort of like but that's his brand. He kind of contradicts himself sometimes.
Yeah.
But and like I love listening to music like that. So I always thought, like, you know, when you were describing it, I was like, oh man, this boy must love rap and hip hop. This is this is exactly how you do it. And and it's sort of the same with the writing process. And I'm not speaking on behalf of Christine, but the writing process is oftentimes random too. You know, it never comes in at the time that, like, sometimes I will write 30 fucking pages and I am flying. And then the next day I'm writing 1 page, but I am, you know, either like I'm feeling less confident or whatever, insecure. And I do everything that I possibly can to draw inspiration from. So I'm watching movies, I'm watching shows, I'm even reading comic books again, you know, and I haven't read a comic book in almost 15 years, and I just dusted off my box, started reading comic books again. And it's insane. It's crazy how much inspiration you can draw from something that inspired me as a kid, you know.
When you write a screenplay, do you have the end in mind already and you're just filling in how to get there, or do you just not, are you just kind of like on a journey and you'll let the end come to you when you get there?
It's a little bit of column A and column B. So yeah, I
Okay.
do have the ending, but I oftentimes, if I have the ending, I have the beginning. I have the first 5 minutes. I have the
Okay.
opening shot. I have, you know, what I want to see, and then with that, I have already the characters, because the characters usually come first for me, and I always think of somebody who is like a hero, you know, somebody who I can draw an inspiration from. And oftentimes when I do create that character, I create the world with it.
Wow.
So, and my brain, it works at like 1,000 miles an hour when it comes to creativity. And I don't stop. I forget to eat. I will work 10 hours, 15 hours sometimes. I will walk into the office in the morning and I won't come out until it's like dark and it's like midnight or 1 in the morning, and I'm like, what the fuck, like what did I do? Like what happened, you know? So I and that's all the time, and I love those days. Sometimes I just don't have those days. Sometimes I'm feeling less inspired than others, and if I feel less inspired, I just do everything that will get me inspired. So
that's really good advice. Yeah.
It's the only way you can do it. And people who say like, well, how do you combat writer's block? And it's like, well, I mean, writer's block is, I guess it is a thing. I don't know. I'm not one to say it is a thing, but for me, how I interpret writer's block is something that is like, you're not feeling as inspired as you once were. So because you're not feeling inspired, that doesn't mean you're going to sit down and start writing 50 fucking pages or write an entire song, you know, like you can't, that's impossible. That's almost impossible. You have to feel that feeling of wanting it. Like with this script that I'm writing, like I have to devote at least 6 hours because I look forward to writing this script every single day.
Nice.
And even making the story. And there's even some days where I'm like, fuck this. I'd rather be playing Shadow of Mordor and, you know, ripping orcs' heads off and shit, you know. But other times, or I'll play a record. Sometimes I'll just slap on a record and that will help me write. So like I have a Sergio Leone's greatest hits of like Ennio Morricone's composing like tracks of all of the spaghetti westerns that he made.
Yeah.
And I played that, and that has pushed through all of the anxiety and writer's block and all that, so I can just focus on writing. And it's crazy how inspiring music can be to comic books and other movies and video games and all this stuff, because it's all rooted in creativity. So if you see or hear something that someone's passionate about, it's almost like a drug that's just kind of like passed through you, you know, just in of itself, that drug of creativity. And once you have that, the sky's the limit. So when, to answer your question, yes, I do come up with the ending very, very fucking quickly. But oftentimes I'll have that beginning just already in my head, ready to go. I just got to sit my fat ass down and fucking do it.
That's like when I'm writing a song, I have the luxury, okay, what you were saying earlier, that film and music are similar. That I think they are very similar art forms, because both of them happen over a period of time. You know, both of them are temporal based mediums. While like a painting can be a painting forever, and you can look at it whenever you want, and you know, whatever. But when I'm writing music, I have the luxury of layering things,
right?
And because it's like I have the whole. Once I put one layer down, that one layer becomes the canvas, and then I just get to react to every layer that I add, and it can be a very like you find inspiration with every layer that you add. But sometimes you just get stuck. Like writer's block hits me when I'm like, I can't find a way to react to the art anymore.
Right.
I don't know how to respond to this, and that's when I hit writer's block. I don't know what the answer for this song is.
No, yeah, because you something just doesn't, something's not clicking.
Yeah.
You know, and you can force it all you want. It's like, I don't know if you have you ever watched the show Mad Men?
Yeah, a little bit.
So Don Draper always had this, not always, he had this one scene when Peggy first came into advertising and she can't think of any slogans or any ideas. And he was like, well, think about it really hard, then don't think about it anymore. And she was like, what the fuck does that supposed to mean? And he was just like, don't think about it. If it's going to come to you, it's going to come to you. You love this. This is a thing you love doing, which is at the time advertising, according to that show. And that creativity, that spark, as long as you're feeding yourself more creativity, it's going to come. It's going to come. And whether you know it or not, that's just how your brain chemistry works. And everybody's brain chemistry works differently. So if I'm watching a Batman TV show, I can get inspired with 7 more fucking pages of my script and I'm flying, you know, or it would be different. It would be like I'm listening to a record, you know, and I get so inspired. So I'd assume, like, and my question for you is it the same way? Because you talked about writer's block for a little bit. How do you snap yourself back to that moment of clarity where you're like, oh, I know exactly what I need to do to finish this song?
I start by obsessively listening to it.
Right. Yeah.
I will listen to it on repeat. And
Don Draper thinking about the problem really hard.
Yeah, that's me. And then then I'll get like drunk and listen to it. Like then I'll get high and listen to it. Because these things make music sound different, you know? Like I'll notice different things. Or sometimes, like, if I have listened to it too many times, then like if I get intoxicated, it can feel like the first time I'm hearing it. And so like I'll do that sometime. I won't be like writing or trying to like mix or anything like that, super stoned to the bone or something. But like I you know, I do use that as a tool just to get another perception. But really how I combat writer's block is to just write through it. Like I have so many garbage songs that I just throw away. Yeah. You just write and you're just like, well, I had to get that out so I can write something else now. And it's just like, you know, like we were saying earlier, it comes down to refinement. You know, you have to find the ideas that are worth pursuing and refining. But like usually I'll just force myself to write and I'll be dissatisfied with it often. Sometimes I'll surprise myself. Sometimes I'll just rewrite the same thing a bunch of times. But you know, it when you've got writer's block, I just sit down and write through it. Just push on through it.
Would it be the same thing for you, Christine? Like, would you experience that feeling of that feeling of just writer's block where you're something, that inspiration is just not clicking for you
all the time?
Yeah,
I get writer's block all the time. And I think I've talked about this in other episodes, but like I know myself well enough to know that I have to put myself in a different environment to get out of that. Like sometimes just change like jump starts my brain, you know? So whether that means like, it can be as simple as, you know, I've been working in the same effing spot because I do the same thing. I fixate on it. So maybe I reread some script or whatever in the same spot for the past 3 days, and just simply being like, let me go to, it can be as easy as let me just move my whole setup to my room, or let me move my whole setup to the coffee shop or whatever, and it changes. It's just something about it. Maybe it's just the new smells, the new energy or whatever around me is enough to put me almost like a restart type thing, like slate wipe clean type thing.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so like that's why I will randomly take trips to places to, you know, Hawaii. If I'm feeling really stale here in Shreveport or wherever, I'll go to Austin, for a few, and then it's amazing how instant that productivity spikes, or that like inspiration spikes. Like I've been depressed and like can't think of anything, writer's block to the max, wherever I am, and then gone for this trip, and I come back with a new business, a new like 10 half my script written, and like I don't know, something else, and it literally is just that is enough. And I don't know if that works for everybody. For me, it's the newness and putting myself something that feels new is enough to wipe the slate clean and help me get past any roadblocks.
That's so cool.
But it seems like you guys have the same Venn diagram in terms of the creative process, where you both, and I do the same thing, where you just push through.
You have to push through. I think that's just life, man.
Yeah.
Being
or you can make yourself more comfortable, like changing environments, like you said, or doing something different, or listening like I do, just listening to a record.
Yeah, there's no secret sauce to anything but pushing through. Literally, I feel like that's literally the life. It's just
such life.
And the problem is the majority of the people on this earth, it's how much they're able to push through. And unfortunately, most people crack when they're at a roadblock. And that's what distinguishes people who are able to, a lot of times, who are able to succeed and who just stay where they are. It's that it is hard to go through those roadblocks, and it is emotionally draining and stressful and everything, and it's a roller coaster. It's not like you get through one roadblock and that's it. You go through one roadblock and then you like are able to like chill for a bit and work and feel like you're progressing, but you're gonna hit another roadblock. And it's just how many roadblocks. I feel like that's just like how many roadblocks can you successfully get through? It's like a video game,
It's Mario. Yeah.
Exactly. Can you get to the next level? It really, can you go and save Princess Peach? Like that's just how it goes. It's just that I've read books, and one of them that stood out was a book called Grit, and her whole thesis and study is that it's not how smart or talented or you are. There's a limit to that. It is literally how resilient you are to getting through these challenges and roadblocks. And it is more so that than natural talent or whatever. It's people who practice, hours. It's people who like keep going at it despite failing a lot, like that's life. It's pushing through.
Because if you're not going to put in the effort, what's the point?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
well, we've been over an hour, you guys. So it's up to you if you guys want to take this bad boy in for a landing, or
let's crash land it.
Do you want to crash land it, or do we have like another half hour in us, or do we got to go?
I gotta go, and he's gotta get ready for work. But I have to go. I am on a trajectory. Okay. My goal today is to finish a 1-pager pitch deck for my feature film, and so I got a big.
You got a hefty day.
A big list.
It's to do what now? A 1-page what?
A pitch. I'm trying to lock in my final investors for make the mermaid film is telling you about. Really.
I'm so excited to see that.
Yes, and I'm borrowing his Jeep for it, and hopefully he'll write some music for it too. Which would be cool.
I would love to.
Which would be rad.
I would love to.
So.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me on y'all's podcast. I had a blast. Of course.
We want you to come back if you want to come back. If not, it's definitely okay.
We will need to do one when he's like, maybe like a play-by-play when he sees the music video for the first time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Your reaction.
Like, all right.
You mean like commentary?
Video. Let's see your reactions. That could be really bad or really great.
So you mean like do commentary?
Commentary, yeah, totally.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. I'm down for that.
That would be cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know what else, because I wrote some notes down and we nailed basically everything. This is the most productive podcast that I've had, because like
so
I
good.
always wrote notes down and we only get to maybe like 2 of them, but we nailed like everything on the list. So that's great. This is a great creative episode.
Hell
Thank
yeah.
you, Brad. We appreciate you. So when is the music video going to come out?
Crickets.
Oh, never mind. Okay, well, that has been
give me like a month or two.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't want to rush it. I want to do a good job with it. So yeah.
It's just I'm just taking the time, Brad. You can take the time to promote yourself if you got anything you want to show. You got a website. You got social medias.
I did release a single almost a year ago now that will be on this upcoming record that is 11 tracks right now. Yes. So really I was hoping to finish it last summer, but then I just doubled the length of the album instead. So
more content.
Yeah. But the track is called The Albatross and the artist name is Nethermead. It's on all streaming services if you guys want to check that out. So that's The Albatross by Nethermead. And so that one's got some bossa nova influence to it as well.
That's awesome.
We're gonna write it down on our Facebook thing. So it is The Albatross.
Okay. Well, while we hear the pitter patter,
what's the title? So The Albatross by what?
Nethermead, Nethermead.
I can't spell. Okay, Nether B. Nather.
Nethermead.
Okay, Nethermead. Got it.
Yeah.
Christine's this is her first day understanding a keyboard. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Get Reelisms podcast. Tune in next week for another episode of the Get Reelisms. We like to thank Brad, and we would love to showcase our books. Ladies and gentlemen, getreelisms.com today.